What if I told you that there are people coming to your website that are bouncing, they're leaving, they're exiting out because your website is too positive? Now, I know it might sound counterintuitive for me to challenge you to be negative on your website, but if you can actually identify headaches and pain points and friction and talk about some of the struggle that your website visitor is going through, they're going to want to actually work with you and purchase your product and purchase your service and give to your nonprofit more readily because you're actually understanding them and you're kind of showing some empathy of what they're actually going through and the struggle that they're actually facing. You're in the right place if you want your website to be more than just beautiful, but you actually want it to be a high converting website that's actually giving you leads, giving you customers, giving you donors. In this short training video, we're going to go over why most websites accidentally create decision-making friction without even realizing it. We're going to tell you what research says about trust, empathy, and decision-making. We're going to give you the friction before the fix framework that you can implement on your website. We're going to give you some real examples from plumbers, home builders, and digital agencies so that you can see how the friction before the fix framework actually could look in real life. And then we're going to give you some best practices so that you can actually make some of these changes to your website and to your website's homepage today. Hey, if we haven't met yet, my name is Brandan. I own a creative agency called Ritchey Creative. And essentially, we help great organizations build websites that actually get results. And we help creative individuals build agencies that can scale more profitably with less stress. Okay, so maybe you've already heard about this idea of painting the stakes or talking about pain points or talking about friction. I want to challenge you in your thought process that this is just marketing jargon or something that doesn't actually work. On a practical level, we've seen it work for hundreds and hundreds of our website clients and website customers once we build this strategic part of website strategy into the homepage of their website. But we can even see the effects of it from a statistical perspective. If we look at this study from Harvard Business Review, the published research showed that customers who feel understood are more likely to trust a brand, they're more likely to purchase, and they're more likely to stay loyal long term. People don't necessarily relate with and engage with products or even with services, but they engage with people who they feel like really actually understand their problem, understand their pain points, and they're actually willing to care and do something about it. So earlier in the video, I talked about something called the friction before the fix framework. It's something that we implement in every single website that we build for our website customers. And essentially, it's a two-section framework on a website homepage that first identifies struggles, pain points, friction, and then underneath that highlights how we can actually solve that pain point, solve that friction, and this is your chance to be positive. But before you be positive in this section, in the prior section, you want to be negative. So you're probably not including any of this content above the fold on the homepage, which is the very first section of your website's homepage. That is a great spot for clarity and for a great photo and good calls to action. But as you're scrolling down the next two sections or so, you want to identify pain points and friction. And then underneath that, you want to identify what is the solution to those pain points, which of course is your service-based business, your product-based business, your nonprofit, your church. And so we're talking about pain points and friction. And then right underneath there, we're talking about how you can actually alleviate and solve that pain point or solve that friction. The reality is that people aren't coming to a website in a neutral position. They're probably actually visiting your website because they already have some sort of struggle. They're not just showing up on your website because they're internet surfing or just browsing the web. They're probably actually typing in something on Google because they actually need a solution to their marketing problem, to their lawn care problem, to their food delivery problem for their household. Whatever it is, they have some sort of issue and they're trying to figure out what is a good solution. And so when you can actually lay out the problem and the pain points and how you are the solution to those pain points in a really clear and succinct way, it's going to show that you are the right solution for them. And they're going to be that much more likely to actually want to take the next step with your brand and with your organization. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at 3 different case studies, 3 different examples of what a plumber, a home builder, or a digital agency might be saying currently on their website, and then what they actually need to say if they wanted to apply and implement this friction before the fix framework. So a plumber might already be saying something like, we offer fast, reliable plumbing solutions. However, if they want to implement the friction before the fix framework and they want to actually identify pain points and struggles before they offer the solution, they might say something like, small plumbing issues can turn into expensive emergencies if they're ignored. We help you fix the problem before it gets worse. So same service, but very different approach. In the second one, the friction before the fix framework, we're saying, hey, we know that there's all these small things that can turn into huge expensive headaches. The person that's visiting your plumbing website, maybe they're already going through that experience. They've had a couple different things that got worse and worse over time, and now it's basically just super expensive, or maybe they have the fear of it turning into something more expensive over time. And so again, you're alleviating that friction point just by calling it out, by saying, hey, let me sit with you in the pain point. Let me sit with you in the mess and then give you a good guide on how we can then be a solution to those pain points and to that problem. Okay, just to give you another example, a custom home builder might already be saying something like, we build high quality custom homes. It's a great thing to say because that's what you do, right? So there's clarity there, but we're not actually talking about friction or pain points. And so if a home builder wanted to implement the friction before the fix framework, they might say something like, building a home shouldn't feel like a gamble. Our process is designed to eliminate surprises and keep you informed every step of the way. So that might be the pain point or the struggle that the person that's visiting your custom home building website might be experiencing. It feels scary. It feels like there's risk. It feels like there's a gamble. So if you can talk about that pain point, and then you can kind of alleviate it by saying, hey, we'll link arms with you through the whole process. It doesn't have to feel like a gamble, but you're calling out the fact that sometimes it can feel risky and it can feel like you're just shooting in the dark. Again, you're sitting in the mess. You're sitting in the pain point with that prospective customer and with that website lead. Okay, bringing it a little bit closer to home, because I am a digital agency and a lot of you watching this video are also web design agencies or digital agencies. A digital agency might currently be saying something on their homepage like, we design beautiful, high-converting websites. Well, that's what you do. That's great. You design beautiful websites. But if you wanted to actually talk about friction and pain points, you might say something like, are you tired of paying high-ticket prices for websites that look great but don't generate leads? We build beautiful, high-performing sites that generate leads quickly. You know what it reminds me of is those cheesy infomercials from 20 years ago or 30 years ago where there's kind of a black and white shot of somebody that's having like a big problem. They're spilling everything, or I don't know, there's like Cheerios on the floor that aren't being picked up from the vacuum cleaner. And then it says something like, are you tired of a vacuum cleaner that doesn't actually suck up all the dirt? And again, the pain point and the friction part of the video is black and white. And then it turns to color when it's talking about the new vacuum cleaner and why you should purchase it. But again, it's a marketing framework that has been used for decades and decades and decades because it actually works. Identify friction, identify problems, be dark, and it makes your solution seem that much more bright.
Does the shoulder strap of your car cut into your shoulder? Is your shoulder strap too tight and annoying?
So again, in just a second, I'm going to give you some really practical tips that'll help you to implement this friction before the fix framework even more smoothly and more efficiently into your website. But before we do that, again, remember, you want to have a friction section on your homepage. Again, not at the very top, but maybe the second section down or the third section down, and you're talking about pain points, friction. Are you struggling with this? Are you struggling with that? Are you tired of this or that happening? And then underneath that section, you're talking about how you can alleviate those problems, alleviate those pain points, and how your business or how your nonprofit or how your organization is a solution to that friction. Okay, so these would be my top 6 tips for actually implementing this in the most effective way on the homepage of your website. Number 1 would be limiting yourself to 3 to 7 core pain points. You could probably come up with 20 or 30, but there's probably 3 to 7 that are the most potent. The things that somebody reads it and they're thinking, man, this person's like reading my mail. They know exactly what I'm going through. They're understanding the struggle that I'm facing. So again, limit yourself to 3 to 7. Number 2, write them in visitors' language, not industry jargon. So in previous videos where we've talked about messaging and clarity and copy, we've talked about this a little bit, but churches are notorious for using insider language like reach in, reach out, reach up. But even your business, even your nonprofit, there might be some insider language that you're tempted to put in this section. Don't do it. Make it super easy to understand so that any person would be able to know exactly what you're talking about as you're writing these pain points and as you're writing your solution points as well. The third tip here is use short, scannable statements. You don't need each of these to be an entire paragraph. In fact, I recommend either a sentence or maybe even a broken half sentence, just a few words to identify pain point and then another one, pain point, and then another one, pain point. But again, we have 3 to 7 here. It's just one line of text per pain point or per struggle. The next one here is adding simple icons to each pain point to increase readability. Again, it's just easier to digest when it's broken up into little bite-sized pieces with icons to go with each one. And then also from a visual perspective, it might actually help get the point across if you have a custom design icon or just some sort of iconography that actually speaks to the pain point or to the struggle point as well. And then the next one here is place this section high on the page, not buried at the bottom. So again, not at the very top of your homepage, but you certainly don't want this pain point section and the solution section to be at the very bottom either. So funny story, by default, as we're building websites for clients, we bake our frameworks and bake our philosophies into every homepage, into every website design that we build. And I have had clients before that push back on this and say, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like us to be so negative or to say, don't do this or don't do that, or have you experienced this problem or that problem? Talking about the problems, it just doesn't feel like our brand. Can we just be more positive on the website? And I might push back on it a little bit, have a dialogue and have a conversation with the client. But at the end of the day, they're the customer, they're the client, and I want them to be pleased. And so if they don't want a section that feels negative or that feels dark or that talks about pain points or headache points or struggles, then we'll remove it. But I will say this, just from the experiences that we've we've had building hundreds of websites for our customers and for our clients, the ones that seem to perform the best are the ones that talk about these pain points, talk about these struggles, and then position the brand as the solution to those headache points. Because again, it shows empathy. You're showing your website lead, hey, I know what you're going through. I know what you've experienced. And again, even from the data that we've looked at, like that example earlier from Harvard Business Review, if you can actually make your end user and make your website visitor feel understood, they're going to be that much more likely to trust you, to purchase from you, and to actually stay a loyal customer simply because you understand what they're going through and you've actually shown empathy prior to actually trying to sell them something. Okay, so maybe at this point you like the idea of being a little bit negative on your website and having this friction before the fix framework instituted on your website, but maybe you are a gardener that just doesn't know, like, what does this actually look like on a gardening website? Or maybe you're a law firm and you're just like, I don't actually know how to implement this for my specific law firm in my specific city with my specific end user. We'd love to help coach you through it. If you visit our website at ritchey-creative.com/coaching, you'll see a lot of different coaching programs there. One of them is called Message Mastery. And we talk about messaging and clarity statements and the different sections that should be on your website and what order they should be in. And these sections are included. And we'll actually, on a one-on-one live Zoom coaching call, actually be able to help you identify your friction that your end user is going through, the pain points, how we're actually going to implement those on your specific website for your specific industry, how we highlight you as the solution to the problem. And so again, if you just want a real human and a real expert to actually walk you through this framework and actually help you institute it and implement it on your website, then you can visit our coaching page at ritchey-creative.com/coaching. Well, hopefully this was a helpful video. I also just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who likes these videos and is subscribed to the channel. It means a ton to me personally, so thank you so much. Remember, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Stay creative, and we'll catch you next time.